The Marinade.
There's no O in Marinade. Let's try it one more time. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
The Marinade.
Marinade.
Bone marinade. The
That's
Marinade.
The Marinade. With Jason Earle.
You'll never find shelter. You'll never find your way back home. You'll never find yourself now when you're that far gone, that far gone.
Welcome to The Marinade with Jason Earle, a free-flowing conversation about the creative process with creative people. This is episode 46, and our guest for the second time is Seth Walker. Seth is a musician originally from North Carolina whose latest record, Are You Open, was released earlier this year in 2019. Honestly, I think it's his best. We caught up at Spirit of the Swanee Music Park in Live Oak, Florida during Swanee Roots Revival this past October. From the time I met Seth at that same spot over 2 years ago, he has felt like an old friend. He just has that air about him, and I'm so grateful to have sat down with Seth once again. The song you're hearing in this episode is Inside off of Are You Open? You can find all things Seth at sethwalker.com. Everyone, it is my distinct honor to present my conversation with Seth Walker.
You got to look within. They say peace will overcome if you would just give in. Give in to love. I think that's enough. Yeah. I won't cry when it's raining, it's raining, it's raining, it's raining, it's raining on the inside. Eyes won't dry when it's raining, it's raining, it's raining, it's raining, it's raining on the inside. Now, if you got a friend in need.
All right, I think we're ready to roll when you are, man. Seth, round 2, baby.
Round 2.
Here we go. Last time we talked about basketball, I feel like half the
We
time.
did. We talked about basketball and
All
rap,
kinds
rap
of-
music.
Rap music. We
Yeah.
did talk about rap music. I want to talk about the record. Are You Open? It's
Yeah.
awesome, man.
Thanks.
Congratulations
Thank
on a
you.
beautiful piece of work.
Thanks.
I think there's a lot of things that I want to say about it, but the people want to hear what you got to say, and I think it sounds like the vibe I get from it
Mhm.
is like a man at peace with himself. A man who's somewhat settled.
Moments of peace.
Yeah, there seems to
Yes.
be like I don't know, maybe that's what I'm projecting onto it
Mhm.
as we do with great art, right? But
Well, thank you.
yeah,
I- I-
that, do you think that's a thing, or is that maybe something I'm just...
It is. It's definitely. It's definitely a thing. The record definitely can. I look back on my other 9 studio albums.
That's wild,
This is
man.
my 10th studio album. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And I do remember. You always say that your new baby is always your favorite baby.
Sure.
But this one, I definitely, because I wrote most of the songs by myself, there are a couple co-writes on there. And after living in New Orleans, that definitely played a role in just the spirit of my, the center of my spirit, because they are spirit people.
Yeah.
That's what they lead with.
Right.
So going into the record, I felt kind of in tune or in line with myself, and just asking myself questions. I remember when I was going into the record, I asked myself, "Are you open?" to something new you've never played before, or maybe something new that your fans have never heard from you before? Are you open to really, you know, challenging yourself? So that was kind of the spirit.
That's awesome. That comes through for sure. It's my favorite of your catalog.
Thank
yeah.
you. Thank you.
So
I did a lot of it at my house.
Okay.
Which I had never really done before. I always been in studios, which are all great.
Yeah.
But this one, dude, man, I mean, I would, I don't know if I'll ever go back. Because I felt so comfortable, and I really felt like a lot of times when you're in a studio, you check, you know, the red light fever, and the clock is ticking, and you're like, emote, man, emote, and you know, and this way, I really can actually remember feeling the music in a different way.
And you think that was that physical space and not something else about the songs or anything like that?
I think it was a mixture of all of that.
Okay.
I mean, the material for sure. What was, you know, probably some of the more personal takes or songs that I've written.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, obviously it all kind of centers around the song, but
right.
Being at my house and my experiences with New Orleans and my experience with Cuba. I went to Havana, Cuba, right before I wrote a lot of this. Actually, a couple of songs were inspired by my trip there. So all of that played a part, you know.
Can you say more about that?
Yeah. I went down there, just strangely enough, the voice of the Texas Rangers baseball team, his name's Eric Nadel.
Yeah.
You know him? He's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, He's a great follow on social media.
Huh? Oh,
he's
yeah,
a great
yeah,
follow
yeah.
on social media.
Yeah. He's a cat.
I'm pretty sure I'm thinking of the same guy.
Yeah, he wrote a book called the Limerick. It was like all these limericks he wrote.
Okay.
Limerick. Yeah, Eric Nadel.
Oh.
Anyway, he loves music, and obviously I'm guessing the MLB Cuban connection.
Oh yeah.
And so he'd been going down there forever, and he would do baseball trips. He would bring people who were big baseball fans and go down there, and he would, because he spoke the language fluently, and he knew Cuba back and forth. He would, before you could go down there, for Obama, I guess, opened it up. He would, go to Mexico and go over or whatever.
Right.
But anyway, he decided about 3 or 4 years ago he wanted to try to do musicians. So he set up this basically kind of an excursion for all of my fans. Ruthie Foster and I went, who's a great singer from Austin. And we went down there to Havana to play concerts.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long were you there?
I was there for 7 nights, but here's the kicker. 3 days before we got there, Fidel Castro died. So they banned music, all music, for 9 days. Yeah.
Whoa.
You couldn't even play a radio.
To mourn.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So pretty trip. I mean, like usually, this is my first time going to Cuba, so I didn't have anything to compare it to. But there's music everywhere. There's music. There's people playing music in the lobbies of the hotel. There's people playing music on the street. There's people playing music in the restaurants. There's people dancing. None of that.
That's eerie.
It was very eerie.
And you were in Havana that whole time?
I was in Havana. We would go to the outskirts, the countryside, to go do some things too. So we would have these. We came down there to play music.
Yeah.
So we would have these like ninja.
That's terrifying.
Covert concerts.
Because the Cuban government doesn't fuck around, man. They'll arrest your ass. Throw you in jail forever.
What's the risk we're going to take, I reckon. So we did it.
That's crazy.
I know. So,
So I can't let this go.
This interview just took a turn.
Yeah, what is that? I didn't. Yeah, it always does. I always write down questions and I never fucking ask any of them. Because I'm so fortunate. I just get the most interesting guests and I try to just let them go. But so you're in Havana, so I want to compare our trips because I went to Havana for 4 days.
Yeah.
And so I want to kind of share some of my experiences too. But you're there, and you're there to play music.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to play music, so you're doing these kind of. Are you like? Is there a secret knock to get in? Is it like a speakeasy?
No. It was a lot of it was. Well, for instance, the people that came with us, there was probably 20 of my fans, 20 of Ruthie's fans.
Oh,
so they all paid, a fee to come down to go to our concerts and to do excursions and go to Paladars and do the Cuban experience.
Sure.
Right. So obviously those people came to the concerts because they were included. They were in our group. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you weren't worried about. Still weren't worried, or were you worried about getting in trouble?
I wasn't. It didn't seem. I don't think they were like coming around, checking every door.
The music police.
The music police. That was not a thing.
Okay.
But as far as public events, and any kind of, obviously public events, but like, no partying in the streets, man.
Yeah.
No party. And it was a very splintered. The whole Castro thing is so splintered.
Right.
A lot of the older folks are, still hold him high.
Yeah.
And then the younger generation it's definitely a complicated. The Castro issue is complicated.
Yeah. So what did you take away from that experience? I mean, you mentioned that it inspired songs on the record. I mean, there's definitely and I don't know if this is what you're talking about, but there's like a Caribbean kind of influence.
Yeah, it's
for sure.
It's all in there.
Those rhythms.
Yeah, definitely the rhythms. And I love, to traditional Cuban music. I mean, that Rakuda record he did with the Buena Vista Social Club just threw me for loops years ago. So it wasn't necessarily just it wasn't the music exactly that influenced the record, but it was the spirit of those people, the artists that we met, the visual artists.
Yeah.
Specifically, there was a painting that I bought of it was a silhouetted image of a man holding an umbrella. It was a Cuban artist, and he had raindrops all on the inside of him, and he was in it with. So it doesn't matter how big his umbrella was, he ain't getting out of the rain.
Yeah,
it was called Inside. Was the name of the painting.
Yeah,
and so it struck me. I bought a print of it and brought it home. And during that trip, I just wrote this poem called Inside, inspired by that painting. And I never write this way. I usually with my guitar, and it's a little more conventional. So I wrote a poem, and then I had done a gig in Asheville, North Carolina, and we were doing sound checks. A lot of times I'll get song ideas by mumbling things in the shower, or either when I get out of the shower, or mumbling here and there, or sometimes if we're hitting on a groove on the sound check, I record it with my phone. Just remember that groove.
Yeah.
And I just picked up my phone one day in New Orleans, and I heard that groove, and I just kind of spoke/sung that poem over this sound check groove, and ended up putting that sound check into Pro Tools, and I built this track. And which actually, when you hear the record, that the loop that you hear at the beginning of that track is that sound check from my iPhone.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So I've never done anything like that before.
Yeah.
So from inspired by this Cuban piece to a poem to a sound check, that track specifically started the ball rolling with the whole album as far as opening my spirit to something new.
That is exciting, man.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was definitely a fun process.
I like that song a lot, and it because and I was curious about the meaning, sort of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's I think you can project a lot of things onto those lyrics, and I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
But it's just such a stark image in my mind, that raining on the inside.
Yeah.
It's raining. Oh man, it's so good. That's crazy. This came from a painting in Cuba.
Came from a painting, yeah. If you watch the video to it, you'll see some of that that image of that painting is in the video.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cuba was, we spent 4 days. I actually went just a couple of months before I last spoke with you
Mhm.
here at Swanee.
Yeah.
And I was about to have surgery, and it was a weird time in my life, you know?
Mhm.
And we were just depressed the whole time. Like, we spent 3 days in Havana, and we spent 1 day at a little beach town. I can't remember the name of it, on the outskirts. You know, those little beach towns around it. And the beach town was different. It was still super sad to us, but we had a better experience.
Yeah.
But people were not open to us. And our Spanish isn't great, but we know a little bit, and we tried. And I just left there feeling like this is a really depressed place where these people have not had the opportunity to express themselves and be who they could potentially be. The poverty in Havana hit me in the face.
Oh, it's
so bad.
It will hit you in the face. I mean,
You know?
we met doctors. I met a doctor
Yeah.
who gets paid $25 a month.
That's crazy.
It's a broken system,
Yeah.
you know, and it's been like that for generations.
Yeah.
But in that brokenness, there is some kind of resolve in those people, and they find a way. I mean, I don't know. They talk about improvisation.
Yeah.
They got $25 a month,
Yeah.
and they make it work.
Yeah.
And my experience was different than yours. I mean, the might just been the circles I was in, or for whatever reason, and the people I met were wonderful. And
it sounds like you also had kind of a curated is not the right word, but like you had a little bit.
It was a little more form to it.
Yeah.
Going into it.
And we kind of intentionally didn't do that. You know, we didn't hire like a guide or anything like that. And in hindsight, I might have done that, you know, because I felt like
it would force you to get outside of what you might normally do.
Yeah. We just ended up trying to like experience it as quote unquote authentically as we could, which is obviously impossible for us, but as best we could, you know. So we stayed at like a cheap little guest house. And that was pretty nice. Relatively speaking. And like we went into to use internet, you know. Did you use the internet when you were over there?
Yeah, barely. It wasn't very.
Yeah, you got to get like a card.
Yeah.
And like the card was sold in this little corner home, really, that had like a bar with a bunch of liquor in it. That I'm not sure if it was like bootleg or what the situation was, and 2 dogs chained to the wall and machetes hanging from the wall and the ceiling. Just to get the internet, and you had to walk through this gauntlet of machetes and dogs to get to the back.
I think I might have taken a break from social media. It's a sign for disconnect.
Yeah, it was intense, but that kind of thing I felt like we ran into everywhere. Like
too bad.
a closed off situation.
Darkness.
Feeling. Yeah.
I was there for, I guess, probably seven nights or something like that. But I did want to mention at the end of our 2 nights before we left, the band lifted. So, dude, they were out dancing, partying, playing. It was all back. It was all back to rum.
So then, were the shows that you were playing? You had your fans there, and you played to them. Were you able to bring locals in, or
there were some? Yeah, there were some locals that came.
Yeah,
but not as we had hoped.
Right.
You know, we were going to go to our Fabrica de Arts was this beautiful venue we were planning to play, you know. And we were really excited about meeting all the Cuban people, maybe doing some collaborating with some of the Cuban musicians.
That would have been dope.
Next time.
Yeah. What do you think the process that led to Inside, do you think you learned any lessons from that? It being so different from how you would normally write, and do you think that yet you'll return to either a similar method or that same kind of method where you're maybe writing something and then later coming kind of dreaming up the melody, or do you think that was like a one-off kind of moment? I'm gonna go back to what Seth does best.
I don't know. I mean, I'm always hoping to dig into some new dirt.
Yeah. Because the result is so outstanding. I mean, this record is great, man.
Thank you.
You know,
Thank you very much.
Like, I wonder, maybe there's like a.
Well, I think it's. I mean, there was no. When you look at that collection of songs, there was no. Even though I think there is a cohesive flow, but there was. It was more of the state of mind towards the creativity in general, more than the actual craft of how I'm putting them together.
Right.
So I think that's the key. If you can leave yourself, sorry the pun again, but if you can leave yourself open to whatever that channel is in your spirit and your creativity, because you're obviously going to change. It's going to be 2 years later when I do this next one.
Yeah.
So I'm just learn from Are You Open record, and keep that in mind of my spirit and where I was going into it, where they might be a little different.
Yeah.
But as long as it's pointed towards that flow, that current, then you're good.
How do you keep that flow, that current?
Well, I mean, you have to man. That's a toughest question of the day.
Good, I buttered you up with 20
yeah.
minutes of easy
How do you
stuff.
stay in that flow? Well, you can't get too high, you can't get too low, and you can't try to control it. You can't try to steer this thing.
Yeah.
It just won't fucking happen. I've tried to steer it so many times and it doesn't work. And as soon as I stop, then it allows it to flow. I mean, it's as old as the hills. It's Chinese. It's like the Tao Te Ching.
What does that look like when you're trying to control it? Like, what are you doing?
It sounds calculated.
But I guess what I'm asking also is like, are you like in the process? What is that like? What are you doing to try to control it? You know what I'm saying?
Well, you go back to things that work. And you're
leaning on crutches,
you
kind
lean
of
on
thing.
Crutches, and there is something to be said for having. There is something to be said for having form, for having, like
sure.
You don't want. It's like if you want to build a cool looking house, it's different. It's still got to sit on. The foundation's got to be flat.
Yeah.
So there needs to be always in whatever you're doing some kind of a balance.
Even jazz has a structure.
Exactly. Yeah. Somewhat. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And it has to be rooted in blues, in my opinion. But I think a lot of times what I would do, getting back to your question, is I would go back to old bad habits or crutches, and the most dangerous one is trying to think about what someone might or might not like.
Ooh.
Or how it would be received or accepted, and that's very dangerous waters.
Yeah. How often does that sneak in for you, that particular thing where you're worried about? I feel like that would be a natural thing to do.
I mean, sure, it's I mean, I'm playing in front of people.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, people. Yeah,
you like it? So that's somewhat of human nature.
Yeah.
But I think the main way to avoid that hole, and I think it'll kind of take care of itself, is that if I believe it, I know deep down when I'm leaning on a crutch and I'm like, technically it's right on paper. It's
Yeah.
a good song, but am I connected to it?
Right.
Because if I'm not connected to it, no one else is going to be connected to it.
And the flip side of that is if you are connected to it and you truly believe it, then it's going to translate and people are going to be able to connect to it.
Yes.
Right.
That is my hope.
That's what I was talking about with Melody from Front Country, who's playing right now, is just a couple hours ago, is the great, of course, the great songwriters and the great songs are ones that you feel are authentic, that are real, that are telling the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And that connection, even if that connection doesn't come right away, like this, that if
Right.
the writer is chasing that spirit, then the connection's gonna be made.
I think so.
You know,
I know so. I mean, that's what this is all
the
about.
whole thing, right?
This is why we're both sitting here.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't know why I do this podcast. We just solved it.
And done.
I'm just gonna cancel all my bookings.
Just solved it.
Piece of cake, man.
Okay.
Your next record.
I'm so glad.
That's all you needed to know.
It's called Piece of Cake.
Yeah. Your next record, Piece of Cake. It's a sugary sweet pop ballads by Seth Walker.
It is a funny dance to try to find your little, place in it.
Yeah, and I've been thinking about this a lot recently. Just that the reason I wanted to kind of press you on that flow thing is like, because I think what I'm learning for me creatively is that when I'm doing the work, then it flows. Like if I'm getting up and doing the work, then it flows.
Yeah.
If I'm not getting up and doing the work, or if I'm neglecting it for a while, or especially neglecting, like I've just recently started really writing songs. Yeah. And I've always dabbled in it, but I've just the last 9 months or so, I guess.
Great.
Yeah,
Cool.
It's been fun, man. I played my first open mic. And
all right.
Yeah, it's been cool. But like recently, I've been working on a different project.
Mm.
So I've been writing a novel, and in that process, the time that I would have spent maybe messing around with the song is now time that I'm spending on the novel. And I think that is an interesting question of like, how do you remain in the flow of that? Certainly that creative flow generally is happening for me, but I haven't written a song all the way through in a while. Yeah. I've got pieces of stuff, I've got just some lyrics, because I don't write like that, because I'm a writer first and then I dabble in playing the guitar. So like I can't yet at least sit down with my guitar and the song happens.
Right.
The lyrics come and then I figure out where the melody is later, you know?
Yeah.
But the creative capital that I have is limited. So it's like I might be in the flow for the novel, but then if I tried to sit down at the end of that novel writing session and write something for the show or write a song, I'm not there. And I don't know if that's something that I need to work through. Yeah. Or if you have any thoughts on that, that would be great too. But you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, obviously, the time and tools.
Yeah.
Both work with whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
I definitely feel that listening is a very important part of that process, and that's something as the older I get, I'm unfortunately doing less listening than I should. I do more reading than I do listening.
Listening to music?
Yes, listening to music.
Yeah.
To get new influences or a new jolt.
Yeah.
And when I do find something new, I'm like,
yeah.
And it opens up a channel. It opens up, like there was some stuff on the Are You Open record that was inspired by a lot of this West African music. Oliver Katara, that he did a record with Ry Cooder back in the day. I can't remember the name of the album, but there's many Oliver Katara records that are amazing. But some of that crept into, there's a song called Hard Road on there that has this kind of feel. And I wouldn't have listened to that music. I wouldn't have kind of, sponged off of it or gotten influenced by it. So I think that obviously helps. And reading, definitely. I mean, you're writing lyrics, man. It's like, it's always good to be inspired by the language.
For sure. Yeah, and I think man, that's an interesting point about listening to the Hard Road. That particular tune was kind of what I was thinking of when I was earlier talking about the sort of Caribbean rhythms, which I guess makes a certain amount of sense with the West African.
Yeah, it's
rhythms.
it's all so connected.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I mean, when I listen to Lightning Hopkins,
Mm-hmm.
when you listen to that dude play guitar,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's very tribal. It is right from Africa.
Yeah.
And it's such a very fine little difference, between the two, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little different accentuation of the rhythm or the beat, you know. It's all so connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked that. I feel like we got off what we were talking about, but now I want to talk about Hard Road, because then there's also there's that rhythm juxtaposed with the story, which is a little bit more of sort of where I come from kind of story, right?
I know, yeah.
And
it's like it's like rural North Carolina meets West Africa. Yeah.
That's great. That's so beautiful, right? I mean, it's just like the damn banjo being in bluegrass music, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was my upbringing. I grew up on a dirt road in North Carolina. And a long way from West Africa.
Yeah. But again, I think that's the beautiful, the incredible thing about music is its ability to be universal in that way, and regardless of where you came from, that you can connect to it in some way. I mean, we're talking about West African music right now, and neither one of us grew up anywhere near
I know.
that kind of life, and yet it resonates, right?
It does, man. I watched this Bella Fleck. You ever seen that Bella Fleck documentary he did called "Throw Down Your Heart"?
No.
Check that out, dude. He goes to 5 different parts of Africa.
Okay.
Obviously, he's a banjo man.
Yeah.
So where the banjo was invented, and he visits all these different villages and they all have different types of, the subtleties of their music is pretty stark, actually.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Really, that documentary really inspired me. It's
cool.
Definitely on my bucket list. I want to go there bad.
Oh man, that would be amazing.
I think so.
Yeah, get Eric to put together some
exactly
concerts
there.
there.
Eric, if you're listening, bro, hook that up.
Man, if you're listening, Eric, let's get in the same place so we can talk.
Oh, you got to meet that guy.
I'd like to meet that guy and get him on the show.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome.
His voice booms.
That's awesome.
I sat in a booth with him one time at Rangers Stadium.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He
that's
invited
cool.
me up, and we talked a little bit on air, and just sit with him.
Is he just a fan of yours? Is that how?
He's just a fan.
Just a fan?
Yeah, he saw me at his place called the Kessler Theater in Dallas.
Yeah.
And he became a fan. We became buds.
That's cool.
Yeah, and man, just to watch him do that, man, talk about an artist.
Yeah.
I mean, literally painting pictures with the words.
Yeah.
It's radio.
Yeah. That's amazing.
9 innings.
Yeah.
and more sometimes.
Yeah. Well, that's
got to
another.
make it interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's another. You'd have to make it work. You'd have to be completely in love with the game, just like talking about how songs.
Yeah, he's just eat up just like we are with music. He just loves it.
Yeah.
I go to his house. He lives in Durango in Texas, and actually did a house concert at his place in Durango.
Oh, cool.
And before he loves the game. He loves the history of the game.
Yeah.
Just like we did with the music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That you'd have to in order to make 9 innings of radio, compelling.
For 40 years.
Yeah. You're talking about jumping into music, and of course I always like to end on I can't believe we've already been doing this for a half hour, but I always like to end on what you're consuming now. So, have you been able to, you said you've been reading a lot. Have you been able to dive into something else musically that you've been listening to?
Let's see, what have I been listening to lately? I've been listening to all this Portuguese music.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Gilberto. That guy. He just passed away this year.
Yeah.
So that I just love that music.
Yep.
The girl from Ipanema.
Yep.
Guy.
Yep. João
Gilberto. Yeah. And I one thing I love about it is I don't understand the lyrics.
Uh-huh. Interesting.
There's something about that I really it
Interesting.
soothes my soul.
Because you're not getting lost in the
Yeah,
lyrics,
I'm
you can
just really
enjoy the
getting the
music.
feeling of the lyric, but not really understanding it.
Yeah.
Kind of like that. Might be a new theme for my whole life. We get so heady.
Yeah.
God, we get so heady.
Yep. Take
It's
ourselves so seriously.
It's so
sometimes.
serious.
Yeah.
Like, who gives a shit?
I know. I feel
Dude,
like,
please stop.
I think we had this exact conversation.
Please
last time.
stop.
I think we did this last time.
Moron.
So true, man. Just chill out.
Just stop.
I was this morning. I'm not gonna go. I'll tell you off mic the whole story because I just told this exact story on a different conversation, so I don't want to bore the listener with this. But this morning, the results of what happened this morning is like I had the kind of morning that really gets me in my own head, you know. And I was up with the sun, and just really lost in my head and taking things really seriously. And then I finally got here. And like I was out of the campsite, and I finally got here, and I talked with Melody, and we talked about some serious shit.
Yeah.
But we were having a lot, just like this. We were having fun with it, and
Yeah,
it was, you know, I had made that connection in a way that made me go like, chill the fuck out, dude.
Yeah, I
what
know.
are you taking so seriously? None of it matters.
Just breathe.
Just breathe.
Just breathe. And go to your go. I'm reading The Tao of Willie.
Oh,
You ever read that book?
I know, but I've heard
It's
about it. Is it
amazing.
good?
Yeah, he talk. Oh God. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, he talks about. We talk about the flow.
Yeah.
You know, and circling back to getting out of your head. And and to get back to your other question too about what other music I've been listening to, I've actually been going back to some of the music that really ignited all of this for me, which was a lot of the blues music.
Yeah.
So that it's been nice to revisit that again because I'm always looking for new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But to actually go back and listen to Lightning Hopkins,
Yeah.
and listen to T-Bone Walker, and listen to Early B.B. King, and listening to Percy Mayfield. These are the guys that really turn me completely upside down. So that's been
Interesting.
kind of fun to go back and revisit.
How old
some
were
of
you
that.
when that really happened?
That was when it really got its hooks in me, was around when I moved to Austin, Texas, which was about 1996.
Is that after Jacksonville?
That was right after Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And was that people turning you on to it at that time, or did it just happen into your life because you were in Austin?
Well, the first thing was Stevie Ray Vaughan. He's the one that.
And then you're tracing
Then
back
I
his
traced it back,
influences.
traced it back.
Okay.
My uncle, who's actually here, along with my dad.
Yeah.
He had a radio show in Jacksonville called WJCT. We might have talked about.
Yeah,
this
I think we
last
did.
time.
I remember that.
He
had
a blues show. So
Yeah.
he would send me tapes of his shows.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's kind of how I got really, diving into the old stuff. But through Clapton and Steve Ray Vaughan, of course, their influences are deep.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man. Well, Seth, this is again such a pleasure.
Man, thank you.
Thank you so
Always
much.
good to
The
be
record
with
"Are You
you.
Open" is amazing,
Thank you,
and
Earle.
folks that listen, if you don't have a copy, go get a copy. It's wonderful and
Awesome.
beautiful. And
Thank you.
You playing tonight?
Tonight, 8:30.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's perfect. I get to see Verlin, and then I get to see you.
Verlin. Gosh.
Who's
Guy
that guy?
Clark. I
Oh.
saw Verlin with Guy Clark.
You did?
One time in the hill country of Austin, Texas, outside of Austin, a place called Pootie's Hilltop. Real quick story.
Okay,
And
yeah,
we'll go.
do it. Yeah.
And I was, at the time, I was unaware of Guy Clark. I did not know who he was,
Yeah.
embarrassingly so.
Right.
This was probably maybe around 2002 or something.
Okay.
Like that, 2003. And my friends were like, "We're going out to see Guy Clark. He's out at Pootie's." And I'm like, I just gotten off the road. I was like, man, I don't want to drive out there. And they finally convinced me, and I drove out there. It was maybe like 45 minutes. And there was a little sign, a little piece of notebook, loose leaf notebook paper, said, Guy Clark, $12. And I was like, $12? Bullshit. Pay $12. But I was like, I already drove all the way out here. I guess I'll go in.
Yeah.
And it was a scene. Pootie was Willie Nelson's road manager.
Okay.
Pootie, legend.
Okay.
This was his bar.
Yeah.
they were out at Pedernales recording at Willie's joint. So it was not Willie. It was Guy and Verlin and Daryl Scott.
Oh yeah,
And
he's coming in the spring here.
And monster.
Yeah.
And a bass player, I can't remember her name now, and a mandolin player. And I just completely got schooled.
Wow.
And I left a mark on me. And Verlin Thompson was right there. Was with him from the get go.
Yeah, I think 1988. Verlin
Yeah.
started playing with Guy. We actually just recorded and we talked a lot
cool.
about Guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've recorded
Not
with,
the get go, but yeah, you're right. 88. Yeah, but
yeah, I
the
think
last,
real
the last,
early.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the last big chunk of his career.
Yeah. I think 27 years or so, some crazy amount of time together on the road with Guy. What was it about that moment? I mean, so much about Guy is legendary, but you didn't know what you were getting into. So what was it that really hit you?
I'll tell you what struck me is the fact that this is kind of off the beaten path in the hill country. So there was all walks of life in that joint.
Yeah.
Hippies, rednecks, deadbeat musicians like myself. And I'll never, ever forget the feeling of how intelligent he was with his music and his lyrics and how it would transcend.
Oh, wow.
I'll never forget that. I remember like Let Him Roll, that song Let Him Roll, which always is a dagger in my heart. And I just remember seeing everyone feel that.
Yeah.
That's a gift.
Yeah.
That is a gift to be able to, bring us all together like that.
Yeah.
Because we're in the end, we're all the same.
We're all the same.
We're all the same.
We're all doing the same shit.
Skin deep. Yep.
Yeah. That's great. I'm
Same
so glad
shit.
you told that story. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a good memory. Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, once again, Seth.
Yeah, good rapping
thanks,
with you.
man.
I'll
Yeah.
tell Eric Nadell to give you a call.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
Cheers, man.
All
See ya.
right, cheers. Seth Walker, everyone. Thank you so much, Seth. Thank you all for listening. Head over to SethWalker.com to get a copy of Seth's record, Are You Open? It's so good. I can't say enough about it. You can find all things The Marinade at marinadepodcast.com. Give us a follow on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Subscribe on your podcast app so you do not miss an episode. Tell a friend about the show. Every little bit helps, y'all, and those are all free ways that you can support what we're doing. If you really like what we're doing, please consider joining our Patreon community. For just a few dollars a month, you can gain access to exclusive content like our Patreon-only show, Jason's Journey, where I talk about the moments that have shaped my creative life. Stay tuned for more great Marinade episodes. We have feature episodes coming from Kelsey Walden and Caleb Cottle. Also, several bonus episodes. We're going to record some year-in review shows. A little bit late on that, but we're still going to get it done. And we have a bonus episode set to record at the beginning of January. There's so much going on with the show, and we have some really cool things planned for 2020. So look forward to that. All right, y'all. It's time for What I'm Getting Down On, this segment where I talk about the art that is inspiring me at the moment. I'm going to focus on music this time around. There are a couple of new records that have me extremely excited. First is Micah Schnabel's The Teenage Years of the 21st Century. You can read my piece about this album on marinadepodcast.com/magazine. Micah is a good friend of the show. He's been on our show twice, and I just greatly appreciate him as a person and as an artist. His work has profoundly impacted me for many years, and I think this is his best record. The Teenage Years of the 21st Century is a very human record. It is steeped in the empathy for which Micah is so well known. Its messages come through loud and clear. Micah says what he wants to say and what he means, and it comes through so authentically, as Micah always does. You can find that record on his Bandcamp page. Go pay for it, y'all. Stream it just to make sure you like it if you want to, but trust me, you're going to like it, and you can find it at Micah Schnabel's Bandcamp page. I just can't, again, just so good, and I'm so grateful that Micah is kind of a part of our little universe here at the Marinade. The second record I can't get enough of is the Wood Brothers' Kingdom in My Mind. The album hasn't come out yet. It comes out on January 24th, and I was lucky enough to receive an advance listen. Y'all, I'm a big fan of the Wood Brothers. Oliver was a guest on this show. I've been a fan of the Wood Brothers for a really long time. I've been a fan of Chris Wood's work for a really long time with Medeski, Martin, and Wood. So for me to say this, I don't say it lightly. It is hands down my favorite record of their career. The band got together at their new studio in Nashville and just started improvising. So they didn't even set out to make a record even. They just sort of like were going back and forth and playing together and testing out the new space, and then they went back and realized they had something special, so they went back and polished the jams into Wood Brothers songs. It's just so cool. The result is this fearless record that spans the musical spectrum, and it is absolutely outstanding. I can't wait for y'all to hear it. That's Kingdom in My Mind from the Wood Brothers, and that's going to come out on January 24th. Y'all, happy holidays. Thank you so much for an amazing, amazing 2019. We made all kinds of progress this year with the show, and I feel like we've grown. Everything that we're doing is just getting better and better, and I'm so thankful for the developments with our bonus episodes and our website exclusive series. I've been writing a lot more, and I'm grateful for that. And 2020 has so many cool things planned. I can't go too deep now, but if you're a Patreon patron, I'm about to release a Jason's Journey about one of my ideas that I think is going to be a huge moment for us and for some other folks. So if you're on the fence about Patreon, go ahead and hop over there. The latest Jason's Journey is going to be pretty special. Thank y'all so much for listening. Until next time, go out and create something. Cheers, y'all.